I'm going to be giving you an insight into every NFL matchup in week 5 today for a total of 13. Let's start out in London. The early game, we have the Minnesota Vikings and the New York Jets. Justin Jefferson leads the NFL with 203 receiving yards against man coverage this season, while his 3 touchdown receptions are tied for most in the league, with Jennings with the San Francisco 49ers, Naylor with the Vikings as well, and Yosivas with the Bengals. Since entering the league in 2020, Jefferson has recorded the most receiving yards against man coverage in the NFL at 2,337, while Sauce Gardner has been targeted just 4 times in man coverage this season, allowing 2 receptions for 17 yards. It'll be a great matchup in London. Let's move into the Commanders and Cleveland Browns game. Benjamin St-Juste, a cornerback for the Washington Commanders, has allowed 19 receptions for 244 yards and 3 touchdowns this season, resulting in a positive 15.9 target EPA allowed. So on defense, you want a negative EPA. Positive is very bad if you're on defense. This is the 3rd most of any defender. On the other side of the field, Mikey Sanders still has allowed opposing quarterbacks to accumulate 13.2 target EPA, which is 8th most in the league. So both Commanders cornerbacks just doing not that great of a job, while the matchup in Deshaun Watson has completed just 36 of his 65 pass attempts to wide receivers aligned wide this season, registering a completion rate of just 55.4%, which is the 7th lowest in the NFL. Next, we have the Dolphins and Patriots, the yuckiest game of the week. The Patriots offense has allowed the highest pressure rate, 47.4%, and most quick pressures, 40, as a team through 4 weeks this season. The Patriots have allowed unblocked pressures at the 2nd highest rate, 12.6%. The matchup, the Dolphins, have found success getting pressure rushing for, as they have the 3rd highest pressure rate on 4-man rushes, 37.3%. The Dolphins have 3 defenders with 8 or more pressures, led by Zach Sealer with 10. Obviously, Jalen Phillips is out for the year. That's definitely going to be a hit for the Miami Dolphins, but it's still going to be an interesting matchup. Moving on to the Colts-Jaguars game, Trevor Lawrence has attempted a downfield pass 10 plus air yards at the 4th highest rate in the NFL this season, 42.6%, but has completed just 21 of his 52 downfield attempts, 40.4%, which is the 10th lowest in the league, while the Colts have allowed 13.3 yards per attempt on downfield passes this season, the 5th most in the league, but are just one of 2 teams to not allow a single downfield touchdown pass other than the Buccaneers. Let's move into another great game this week. We have the Bills and the Texans. The Bills have utilized cloud coverage, which is cover 2 and cover 6, at the highest rate in the NFL this season at 40.6%, and have been effective doing so. They've allowed just 5.4 yards per attempt when deploying cloud coverage, the 3rd fewest in the league. CJ Stroud has faced cloud coverage on a league-high 58 dropbacks this season, completing 33 of his 50 such passes, 66%, for 407 yards, a touchdown, and 2 interceptions. His 407 yards against cloud coverage is the 2nd most in the NFL. Let's go to an AFC North showdown. We have the Bengals and the Ravens. The Bengals have allowed 19.5% pressure rate this season, which is the lowest in the NFL. Left tackle Orlando Brown has allowed the lowest pressure rate among left tackles, 3.4%, while rookie Amarius Mims has done well filling in for the injured right tackle Trent Brown with a 3.5% pressure rate allowed, 5th amongst right tackles. While the Ravens defense has generated a 31.7 pressure rate, 16th this season, they are one of 3 defenses to have 4 players with 10 pressures generated this season. The Rams and the Vikings are the others. Kyle Van Noy leads the team with 13 pressures this season, including a career-high 17.8% pressure rate. That was a mouthful. Next, we have the Panthers at the Bears, trying to get revenge for the trade. Since becoming the starter in week 3, Andy Dalton has the 2nd most yards on quick passes, that is under 2.5 seconds, with 331. Of his 77 pass attempts this season, 51 of them have been quick passes, 66.2%. And on the other side, the Bears on quick passes have allowed the lowest completion percentage over expected, which is minus 7.6%, and the 5th fewest yards at 268. Cardinals, 49ers. Brock Purdy has thrown into a tight window, less than 1 yard of separation, on 24.6% of his total pass attempts this season, the 2nd highest rate in the NFL, only behind Dak Prescott. Purdy has completed 5 of 7 tight window passes to Juwan Jennings for 128 yards this season, tied for the most of any QB receiver duo. CJ Stroud and Nico Collins are the other ones. And the Cardinals defense has allowed a league high 59.2% open target rate this season, 3 yards of separation. So all in all, the 49ers should eat this weekend. Broncos and Raiders, an AFC West divisional matchup. The Broncos have been more effective on design runs between the tackles of 44 rushing yards over expected, which is 4th in the league, compared to those on the outside, which is minus 31 rushing yards over expected, which is 25th in the league this season. However, the Broncos may be without their best inside rusher, Tyler Beatty, who has totaled 43 rushing yards over expected on design runs to the inside this season, 4th most in the NFL. The Raiders defense has allowed the opposing ball carriers to generate 42 rushing yards over expected on design runs between the tackles, the 4th most in the NFL. So it is definitely going to be a run-heavy day for the Broncos, and I don't really know how the Raiders offense gets working against the pretty vicious Broncos defense. But I will say the Broncos have lost their last 8 matchups against the Raiders, and their last win was coming in 2019. Let's move on to Seahawks Giants. The Seahawks defense has allowed a 34.5 completion percentage and 8.2 yards per attempt on downfield passes, which is 10 plus air yards this season. That's the 4th lowest and 4th fewest in the league. Opposing passers have recorded a minus 15.4 completion percentage over expected against the Seahawks on such passes this season, the 2nd lowest mark in the league. Dating back to the 2022 season, Daniel Jones has thrown more interceptions, 8, than touchdowns, 6, on 193 downfield pass attempts. Next, we have Packers and Rams. Jordan Love has an average time to throw of 3.08 seconds in week 4 against the Vikings, his longest since week 4 of last season. Love has completed just 46.3%, 25 of 54 of his pass attempts in 2.5 seconds or more after the snap this season, which is the 4th lowest in the NFL, totaling 442 yards, 3 touchdowns, and an interception. 39.3% success rate. In weeks 2 and 3, Malik Willis had an average time to throw of 2.31 seconds, 2nd quickest in the NFL. The Rams have allowed 50% defensive success rate on dropbacks over 2.5 seconds this season, 2nd highest in the NFL. Let's move into Steelers Cowboys. This should be a really fun game. The Steelers have used play action on 35.3% of dropbacks this season, 2nd highest in the NFL, despite Fields generating the 4th fewest EPA on such dropbacks, minus 10.5 EPA. The Steelers have struggled to protect Fields on play action dropbacks, allowing a pressure rate of 44.7%, 7th highest in the NFL. The Cowboys have generated a 47.1 pressure rate on play action dropbacks this season, 4th highest in the NFL, but will be without both Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence, who have accounted for 11 of the team's 25 total pressures against play action. Last game of the week, we have the Kansas City Chiefs and the New Orleans Saints. Patrick Mahomes has averaged 5.1 air yards per attempt through 4 weeks, the lowest mark of his career. Additionally, 71% of his passes have been thrown less than 10 air yards, the 8th highest rate among qualified quarterbacks. Of these shorter passes, Mahomes has averaged just 0.8 air yards per attempt, the 2nd fewest among all qualified quarterbacks. Mahomes has generated 64.8% of his total passing yards, 586, after the catch, the 2nd highest rate among qualified quarterbacks, while the Saints defense have allowed the 3rd most yards after catch over expected at 120. That has been 13 insights, one for every NFL matchup this weekend. If you don't know ball and want to know ball and enjoyed the video, be sure to subscribe, leave a like. Let me know in the comments what insight was the most surprising to you. Have a great rest of your weekend and enjoy week 5.